This is Financially Fit Business with Ruth King.
Welcome to the Financially Fit Business Podcast. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your... Let's start this again. Sorry about that. This is Financially Fit Business Podcast number 15, Advisory Services Part 2. Enrolling clients in your advisory program. 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Financially Fit Business Podcast. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to the health of your business or your clients' businesses. I'm your host, Ruth King. Here's how we will help you increase the financial fitness of your business today. This is part 2 of financial advisory services. And in this session, we're going to be talking about enrolling clients in your advisory services program. So last session, we did the overview and I talked about the ideal advisory client. In this session, we're going to talk about enrolling clients. In session 3, we'll talk about pricing. In session 4, we'll talk about creating graphs and preparing for the meeting. And session 5 will be meeting with the client, with your client. I asked you at the end of last session to think about a list of 3 or more clients who are good candidates for your financial advisory services. And you may want to just put the list together. And as you have thinking time over the next 6 to 8 weeks, as you're doing tax preparation, some of the people might pop into your mind. Put a list of them together. And after tax season would be a great time to talk to them, if not now. So here we go with the enrollment process. All right. So first of all, we want to make sure that you do have the list of potential advisory clients. The next thing you want to do is to contact them, to set up an appointment to talk to them. All right. And it's really kind of funny because when you get to the appointment, and we're going to talk about that, you're going to ask them some things that you probably never knew about your clients. And they probably are going to be surprised and in some cases shocked that you did talk to them about these things because you never have before. And before you even talk to your clients, find out how much they've spent in previous years. Spent on conversations, spent on bookkeeping, spent on tax preparation, if there were audits and everything along those lines. And obviously during this conversation, you'll have to explain the pricing and show them what their financial statements will look like in graphical form, and ask them, which option they prefer. Since this is an audio broadcast, I will not be able to show you visually what the graphs look like, but you can go to financiallyfit.business and take a look to see what the graphs actually look like. And when they say they want to do this, you obviously have to revise your engagement letter. Okay. So you've made a list of potential clients, and we're going to talk about contacting them. Most of them are going to be by email. You know them, you talk to them, you potentially send them their P&Ls and balance sheets every single month. And in the subject line in the email, I would put their name. I'd like to talk with you about your company's financial statements. The reason that you want to start with their name is because as people are scrolling through their emails, they're going to look and see it's from you and their name's on it, so they'll pay attention. And the line that says, I'd like to talk with you about your company's financial statements will get their attention. You wouldn't be surprised, and don't be surprised if you get a phone call. What's wrong? What's wrong with my statements? What's wrong with my numbers? And be prepared because that happens occasionally. So that's the subject line. In the body of the email, you'd say, hi, name. I've looked at your financial statements, or we're looking at your financial statements every month, and I'd like to talk with you about them. Can we set up a 15 to 20-minute Zoom call? Here's my Calendly link to set up a time, or if you use Teams or something along those lines, it's fine. And you probably will get some questions. If you prefer to do this in person, that's fine. Can we set up a 15 to 20-minute Zoom call with you, or can I take you to lunch to talk about them? Although I'm not real thrilled about talking about financial statements in a public environment. Restaurants are not exactly good places to talk through financial statements. I much prefer to do it in a private environment. Can Zoom be hacked? I'm sure, but at least it's fairly private, and especially if you don't record it. Right? So think about it. How do you want to contact them? You want to contact them by email. Again, there you're going to go. Subject line will be name. I'd like to talk with you about your company's financial statements. And the body of the email will be, hi, name. I've looked at your financial statements and I'd like to talk with you about them. Can we set up a 15 to 20-minute Zoom call? And here's my Calendly link to set up a time. If you prefer to call your clients, and some of you prefer to call your clients, hi, this is, Charlie with ABC CPA services. I've looked at your financial statements and I'd like to talk with you about them. Can we set up a 15 to 20-minute Zooms or Teams call? And then you can set up an appointment day and time and send them the Zoom or Teams link. Okay. So in this particular case, you're still going to follow up with an email with the Zoom link or the Teams link to set up the time and the day that you're going to have this phone call. It's interesting because if you've never done this, there may be dead silence on the other end of the phone. If there is, let them talk first. All right. You'll get what they're saying. It's like, why do you want to meet with me? That's generally one of the questions that comes out. Well, I think I can help you better understand and make sense of your financial statements. That's probably the quickest and easiest thing that you can answer. Do not stutter when you do this. And you also might say, well, I want to understand the end game for your business because it will affect some of the growth decisions for your company. And they're going to go, like what? Well, buy for cash, loans, or lease, depending upon what their end game is. How much equity should they keep in the business? And how much should they take out of the business? And what's the business going to need in terms of cash for growth and for day-to-day operations? Those are the things that you can do as an overview when they're asking, and they're asking you why. And then try, I'd really like to talk to you about this in depth. It'll take 15 to 20 minutes, for the first phone call. And you may want to say, I'm not charging you for this phone call. And their stress level will go down at that point because this is on you. It's not on them. And they'll say, okay, I've got time, here, here, and here, and set it up and have the Zoom meeting at that point. So the questions really and truly involve making sure you understand what their end game is and what their growth plans are. Remember, in session 1, you're looking for the ideal advisory client who is growing their business and wants to grow their business and has an exit strategy. After the break, we'll talk more about setting up the enrollment process for your clients. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Financial advisory services are the key to the longevity of the accounting profession. If you want to get started providing advisory services or want a review of a finance course you took in college, Ruth King's manual, Understanding Financial Trends Analysis, might be your first step. This manual gives you the information you need to help your clients with their financial statements. A great start or addition to your financial advisory practice. You help them with clarity on their business's financial health, the ability to spot impending issues and resolve them before they become a major crisis. Less stress and sleepless nights worrying about the financial part of their business. Your Financial Statement Trends Analysis Manual is the reference guide. What do you want in your financial advisory services practice? Click on the link below for more information and to order.
We're back. Thanks for listening to the Financially Fit Business Podcast. Before the break, I gave you some of the ways to enroll your clients in the advisory services process. You'll want to do this for those who you think would be good for this process and not be afraid if they say no. The likelihood is they're not going to say no. You've been doing their tax returns, or you've been sending them financials every single month, or doing both. And the likelihood is they're curious more so than anything else. If you've never done this before, curiosity killed the cat, as we all know, and satisfaction brings it back. And they're going to want to know why all of a sudden you're going to want to talk to them about this, because you've never done it in the past, and you haven't done it, maybe in 2, 3, 4, 5, but maybe even 10 years. It's your wake up call. It's their wake up call. If they've been a client with you for, 4 or 5 years or longer, you may start with an apology and basically say, look, I really want to understand more about your business so that I can help you. And I apologize for not, asking some of these questions before, and start there. And they'll probably give you 15 to 20 minutes, especially if they know they're not paying for it. Do it by email if you'd like. Some of you prefer to pick up the phone. It doesn't matter either way, because you're going to send them a Zoom link, or you're going to send them a Teams meeting link or something along those lines. It's not really good to have this conversation in a public place unless they absolutely want to. If they need to get out of the office, and there's no privacy in their office, maybe they can come to your office for this conversation. That's another option for you. However, you want this to be a one-on-one conversation with you and the client, or you and the partners if it is a partnership, so that you can truly understand what they're doing and where their end goals are, and some things that are really good for their business. And again, I've looked at your financial statements maybe for 5 years or 10 years, and I'd really like to talk with you about them. Can we set up a 15 to 20-minute Zoom meeting or Teams call? And if they say there's no privacy in their office, and you may know that there's no privacy in their office, and you may change this statement to say, look, I know there's no privacy in your office. Can you do a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting from home? Or would you like to come to my office for a 15 to 20-minute meeting? Now, if they're down the street, that's fairly easy to do. If they're halfway across the country, it's got to be done by Zooms or by Teams. So just, try to get them over their surprise and over their shock that you actually want to talk to them about their business, and set the appointment. This is not the time to get into huge amounts of in-depth questioning and questions and answers and things along those lines. That's best done over the Zoom meeting when there's not shock, when there's time for them to reflect and time to think, right? But you want to make sure that that they understand that you're there to help them, and you're there to help them grow profitably, understand the end game for their business. Because, if they're going to close the doors in 10 years, it doesn't matter if they keep any equity in the business, as we all know. But if they're planning on selling the business to private equity, then yes, the amount of equity that has to stay in the business is very different. If they're going to pass it along to their kids, I've seen owners keep a bunch of equity in the business so that their kids have equity in the business. But I've also seen owners say, okay, kids, it's all yours. Bye. I'm leaving. So, it depends upon, those are some of the things that you want to find out too. And the next time they call you on the phone and say, I need a new vehicle, or I need to buy a new piece of equipment, or I need a new this, or I need a new that, which is a capital asset, you'll have a better answer for them knowing all of these things, whether they should buy it for cash, or whether they should take a bank loan out, or maybe they should be able to lease it. So, these are the questions. If you just want to do an overview with them when they say, okay, what do you want to talk to me? You may want to just say, these are the type of things that we're going to cover there. Whether we should be keeping equity in the business, how much you should be taking out of the business. Now, that also has a lot to do with the structure of the business, and whether they're a C Corp, an S Corp, an LLC, partnership, etc. And you'll also want to help them with their cash needs. So telling them, or, giving them some ideas about how to save cash, or how much cash they'll need in the business for operations is really can be a calculations that you do after once you get them as a financial advisory service client. So think about this, and if it's appropriate to do so, send the emails or make the phone calls and see whether you can get a meeting now. Obviously, you don't want to do it April 14th. Or you can, put this with your list of clients to contact after April 15th and get it done that way. So when we get together next time, we're going to talk a little bit about pricing. Thank you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a business owner improve the health of his company. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-8000 or email rking@financiallyfit.business. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.